You don't need to believe in fate to accept that some spooky happenings are so coincidental that they just can't be explained. From impeccable timing to totally mind-blowing historic events, here are some more one-in-a-million coincidences you'll have to see to believe. Cosmic coincidence. American writer Mark Twain will go down in history for more than just his life's work after he successfully managed to predict his own death in one seriously spooky coincidence. Twain was born on November 30th, 1835, shortly after a historic appearance of Halley's Comet, which only passes by Earth every 75 years. In 1909, the writer famously declared that, "It'll be the greatest disappointment of my life if I don't go out with Halley's Comet. The Almighty has said, no doubt. Now here are these two unaccountable freaks. They came in together, they must go out together." The following year, Halley's Comet returned to Earth brighter than ever before, and sure enough, Twain died of a heart attack a day after its arrival on April 21st, 1910. Dennis the Menace. Dennis the Menace is a well-loved cartoon character, and the blonde-haired, dungaree-clad chump and his dog Ruff have got into all sorts of trouble over the years. Or would that be Dennis the spiky black-haired boy in his signature striped shirt? You see, back in 1951, American cartoonist Hank Ketchum devised the idea for Dennis the Menace based on his own son, and the mayhem-prone Dennis Mitchell first appeared in U.S. newspapers on March 12, 1951. What Ketchum didn't know was that across the pond in the UK, the renowned Beano comic strip was also debuting their latest cartoon, the mischievous Dennis the Menace and his dog Gnasher. The characters appeared just days apart, and despite their striking similarities, there's no way either creator could have been aware of the other. Both Dennis Mitchell and the UK's Dennis and Gnasher went on to be hugely successful in their own right, but fewer are aware of this truly unbelievable coincidence. A fishy predicament. They say curiosity kills the cat, but it seems like curiosity almost killed the fish in this surprising photo after one devilish cat swiped the bowl off the table. Cats can be mischievous at the best of times, but this unlucky pet owner learned the hard way not to leave their feline companion alone when there's a tempting goldfish swimming around just feet away. In one incredible stroke of luck, the bowl landed upside down, containing the water, and most importantly, the goldfish itself. I would love to see how they went about solving this tricky predicament though. Lucky dollar. Most hopeless romantics believe in the power of fate to bring them their soulmate, and you might have a hard time denying it after hearing this next story. Esther and Paul Gratian had been dating for a while when Paul asked Esther to be his girlfriend. Later that day, Paul was buying lunch at a sandwich shop when he noticed a dollar bill with the name Esther written on it in pencil, so he pocketed it to frame as a gift for his girlfriend. When he presented her the gift, she was speechless. But it wasn't until years later after the pair were married that things got even more coincidental. After rediscovering the framed dollar, Esther revealed that she had actually written on the note after a heartbreak in her teenage years. Esther swore that she would marry the man to return the dollar to her, so I guess it's a good job Paul fancied a sandwich that day. Perfect timing. Every amateur photographer has one winning shot in mind, and for Bennett Christensen, that goal was capturing a lightning strike in action. Christensen spent over a year waiting for the perfect moment, and when he was walking down at the harbor during a storm one evening, the opportunity finally arose. The final shot alone is pretty impressive, but it wasn't until he got home that his brother noticed something in the bottom left corner which made this a one-in-a-million photograph. One of the boats docked at the harbor is literally called Perfect Timing. When was the last time you got congratulated by a boat? Doggy doppelgangers. The famous saying, an eye for an eye, certainly applies to this next crazy coincidence, which took place when two one-eyed pups met their doppelgangers at the store. The adorable Cavalier Spaniel on the left, named Flirt, who I hope gets her name from the fact she's constantly winking, was enjoying her ride in the shopping cart when she bumped into a near-identical Spaniel who also happened to be missing the opposite eye. This coincidence either formed a strong bond between the two or caused some serious tension, because both dogs have something the other wants. Final resting place. Over 700,000 British soldiers were killed during the First World War between 1914 and 1918, and their commemorative headstones can be found all over Europe. But there is one truly remarkable coincidence in Belgium's St. Symphorium Cemetery. Buried just 15 feet apart are Private John Parr, the first British soldier killed on August 21, 1914, and George Ellison, who was killed at 9:30 a.m. before the armistice became effective at 11 a.m. on November 11, 1918. By pure coincidence, their historic headstones are now only separated by a small stretch of grass, and the two even face each other like symbolic bookends to one terrible chapter in British history. Tale as old as time. We've all heard the classic joke, "Why did the chicken cross the road?" But one lucky driver will know the answer for definite after snapping this hilarious photo. Seriously, what are the odds of stopping at a red light only to watch a chicken strut its way across the street? Most people would wait a lifetime for a coincidence like this one to come along. Literary luck. Sometime in the 1920s, American novelist Anne Parrish was browsing bookshops with her husband while on holiday in Paris when she picked up a worn copy of Jack Frost and Other Stories. Parrish explained to her husband that she used to have one just like it as a child, and seeing the book brought back many fond memories. When her husband opened the cover though, he was surprised to find an inscription which read, "Anne Parrish, 209 Weber Street, Colorado Springs." It was by pure chance the exact copy she owned as a child. Excellent find. We're so used to how our food is supposed to look that when something as bizarre as this happens, it can feel like a miracle. This quadruple yolk is actually one seriously rare sight, especially considering the chances of a double egg being laid are about 0.1%. In fact, experts suggest that the chances of this four yolk phenomenon happening are 11 billion to 1, making this one insanely lucky and tasty coincidence. Poor Richard Parker. Edgar Allan Poe may be one of the most famous writers in history, but he only ever wrote one novel in 1838, titled The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. In the story, four men are shipwrecked and eventually resort to cannibalism to survive. They decide to draw straws, and the man who pulls the short straw, named Richard Parker, is eaten. 46 years later, on July 5, 1884, a yacht named the Mignonette was shipwrecked on its way from England to Australia, and its four survivors drifted on a lifeboat 700 miles from land. One of the men fell overboard, drank seawater, and quickly became delirious, so the remaining sailors decided to eat him out of desperation. This unlucky man's name was also Richard Parker. Then his shipmates were eventually charged with his murder after being rescued. Deadly dart. Unless you're a seasoned darts player, the odds are pretty stacked against you when it comes to scoring a bullseye. But this person managed an even more impressive shot when they somehow speared a pesky mosquito with their dart. I wonder if the unfortunate insect was taking a breather on the board, or whether it actually flew into the path of the dart. Either way, I'm glad there's photo evidence. Raining babies. On a normal day in 1937, a man named Joseph Fidlock was walking down the street in Detroit when he was suddenly struck on the head by a large object. A baby had fallen from a fourth-story window above, and Fidlock managed to cushion the blow, so neither sustained any major injuries. A year later, Fidlock was sweeping an alley in the very same area when a 2-year-old boy named David Thomas also fell from a 4-story window and was saved by Fidlock. One thing's for sure. If you were a lousy mother in the 1930s, you could rely on this unlucky man to save the day. Unexpected outfit. Choosing an outfit in the morning can be tricky enough with factors like the weather and appropriate dress code to consider, but it's not very often we have to think about the chances of our clothes blending into our surroundings. By pure coincidence, this girl picked out a top which lines up perfectly with the lines on her milkshake cup, right down to the order of the colors. I bet she had a hard time telling people she didn't actually work there that day. Cliff Bar. Cliff Bars are delicious and nutritious energy bars perfect for adventurists. And the ubiquitous packaging, which shows a rock climber scaling a nauseating cliff, was inspired by a hike taken by the creator in 1990. Imagine the luck of this hiker then when they stopped for a snack break, only to realize that the rock in front of them seems to be the exact same rock from the cliff wrapper, right down to the mountain range on the horizon. This picture-perfect photo is definitely one for the books, and it's lucky the sky was blue too. William West. Back in 1903, a man named William West was sent to Leavenworth Prison for committing a small crime. But upon his arrival, he was surprised to be told that he had already been serving prison time there since 1901 for first-degree murder. At the time, the Bertillon system for criminal identification only relied on mugshots and a series of facial, skull, and bodily measurements to register inmates at the prison. Although Mr. West had never served time before, another man, also named William West, was serving a life sentence, and his records were so identical that the two men could have been twins, except there was no relation between them. After some confusion, the prison staff realized that they were dealing with two different men, and newly developed fingerprint identification systems were used in prisons across the US from then on. This is one coincidence that changed history for the better. Swimsuit camouflage. A day at the beach is fun for everyone, but this girl must have had quite the shock when most of her body miraculously vanished in front of everyone. Just kidding. This wacky camouflage coincidence is a matter of perspective, as the shoreline and sandy beach match up perfectly with the design, but I don't know what she was expecting when she bought it. Double proposal. Some people spend forever planning the perfect proposal, and the grandest of gestures really don't hold back on the romance. But nothing could be more symbolic of true love than this next coincidence. Becky McCabe and Jessica Gillespie met several years ago at grad school, and their first date was at Memphis Zoo. When the couple decided to return to the zoo to relive the early days, Becky saw it as the perfect opportunity to pop the question, so she arranged for her friends to pretend to take photos of them at the entrance as she hid the engagement ring behind her back. As she got down on one knee though, Jessa scrambled inside her purse and pulled out a ring she'd bought for Becky for the exact same day. What are the chances? Magical moment. You're probably wondering what makes this vintage Disneyland photo so unusual, besides the strangely creepy life-size Mr. Smee from Peter Pan. But it's solid proof that it really is a small world after all. Alex and Donna Vutsinas were sorting through old photos for a wedding slideshow the night before the big day when Donna pulled out the photo of her visiting Disneyland in 1980 at 5 years old. When Alex examined the photo a little closer, he was gobsmacked to recognize his father on Main Street in the background, who was even pushing 3-year-old Alex in a stroller. Not only were the couple in the same place at the same time 15 years before they even met, but they were lucky enough to be snapped in a photo together, proving that no coincidence is too big. Which of these 1 in a million coincidences surprised you the most? If you've ever found yourself in a situation as remarkable or spooky as any of these, let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.